Just so proud of the grassroots campaign she's run, and everything we can do to help Vivian. Vivian, I will be there for you. Thanks so much for running.
Thank you. It is such an honor. I'm sorry that, I was joking that sometimes we make plans and life laughs at us and say, ha ha ha. We'll see about that. So I made plan to make a very passionate speech, and guess what? I lost my voice. So, and it's so funny, ironical, because one of our motto as a campaign is lifting all voices. So regardless of my broken voice right now, I am so determined to lift all voices when in the state on Beacon Hill, if elected as the next state rep for the 14th Middlesex District. I want to first start by thanking Senator Eldridge for the true, I don't have the right word to say, but he sees something in people that the rest of the community does not see. And he doesn't stop at that. He lifts people up. He lifts new voices up. Because guess what? When the diversity that we have as a community, we are not tapping into it. And the reason that sometimes progress is not made is we haven't tapped into the different ideas of addressing the challenges that we face. We are an increasingly diverse community, and which means that we have unique challenges that can only be addressed if we bring those diverse voices into legislation. And as a state rep, my goal is going to be to translate life experiences into legislation so that every one of us can see themselves in that legislation. Because that's the only way that it succeeds. If a section of a community does not see themselves in legislation, then we have failed as leaders, because it's not going to be accepted, owned, and implemented. And how does that happen? It's by having these conversations with these groups of people that have traditionally been not been consulted. And some of them, it's not just the immigrant community, but it's obviously the immigrant community is one of them. And Senator Eldridge does an incredible job of reaching out to these communities. When we look at the the Mobility Act that recently passed, look at the joy that people expressed on his page. That was real. That was raw. And that's what we need, as a quality for legislators, because it means that it touched the hearts of people who are impacted. And once we start looking at legislation and humanizing it and putting faces and names to it, then it is more meaningful, then it's more effective. Well, of course, ever since we launched this campaign, like Senator Eldridge said, I've been knocking on doors. And not just that, talking to different groups of people, including the public safety people, because at the end of the day, they provide public safety for our community. And we are talking about police reform and all that. And what better way to do that by talking to them and seeing what parts are broken. And that is how, we create partnerships and say, yes, the system is broken, but you, the individuals who are serving this community, need to partner with us to make the change that we need. And this is my approach. This is how I approach, issues. And then, as we have Mr. Joe already joining us from Chelmsford. Welcome, Joe. Yeah, so welcome to, I want to talk about diversity of issues and bringing people together. I am so excited to see Joe here. He is one of the influencers in Chelmsford, and he has, he's very active in creating the change the Chelmsford community needs. And when it's not, sometimes we don't need the titles to make the difference in our communities. And this is what this group represents. We have elected officials, we have activists, environmental activists, transportation, housing, and together we can create the comprehensive strategies that we need to make things smooth. And in addition to just having a comprehensive strategy, it's easy for us when we work together to see the big picture, to find how we intersect with each other to duplicate wastage, to avoid wastage of resources. When we're talking about climate change, how are climate change activists talking to the housing people? How are they speaking to the water district? How are they speaking to the transportation sector? Are there issues among all those that are cross-cutting where we could pool funds to address that one issue? Because one of the consistent issue that we're hearing is we don't have enough resources. Still, there is a limited cap on resources, and that's why we need the fair tax, fair share.
Yep.
That's one of the areas we can get into. But as local communities, as activists, as leaders, how can we bring all these people together to make the difference in a way that saves resources and actually is impactful? Across during the door knocking at the different meetings, I have had people, express that they said that devil was in the details when we're talking about healthcare. I spoke to a lady in Chelmsford, by the way, and her husband had just lost, had to retire because of health reasons. So which meant that she did not have health care insurance because she was depending on the husband. And when she tried to find vendors, they sent her to Texas. Texas of all people, and you're a woman. You can imagine how good that goes, right? And we're, as Massachusetts residents and legislators, we're failing the people if we can't give options locally. So when we are looking at legislation, this is a life experience that we need to reflect in the legislation that we're passing. When we're talking about child care, I have I don't know whether I call it an opportunity, but of chatting with very many people who are impacted by childcare. And this could be people who've lived here many years. This could be people who just recently moved here. And recently I was going through my pictures, different photos. And I had taken a picture of me holding a baby of a fellow Ugandan immigrant at midnight because she had no support, no childcare. Her two other kids were at another household at midnight because, at the time I wasn't yet home, and so I only had the baby. So she had to come from her workplace. She probably earned minimum wage to go and pick her kids from another household. They were being taken over looked after by a senior, but an immigrant who is a senior. And then came to my home to get the baby and then go home. Imagine that catalytic effect. It affected 3 households. So when we are looking at issues, we need to find ourselves who is missing at the table and why, and break those barriers legislatively and proactively as activists. So that whatever we're doing, whatever legislation we're passing or interventions we are creating, are actually reflecting these needs. Because these are people who live with us, who dine with us. I recently got someone asked me a question. Oh, we saw a picture of you with one of the police officers. And I said, yes, we have a history. Our children used to go to the same preschool, and which means they are human beings, but they also live with us. At the end of the day, our children are going to be friends, and we need to solve the issues we have in our community together. And if that is not a popular, we need to make it popular. Because as Acton Boxborough United Way, what we're trying to do is create circles where we can have these conversations. We don't have to agree on policies and approaches, but we can have conversations. And through those conversations, we'll be surprised. We'll have the same needs and the same wish. We all want the American dream. We want good housing for our children. I'm so glad to have Mr. Peter Barry here and Mr. Bob Van Meter, who are some of the advocates for our affordable housing. We have a crisis across the district. I am one of them who's been apprised. We have a real estate person here. That's a free advert for you. But he's amazing. But if we could sit down with real estate agents and the advocates for affordable housing, then we could have a conversation how it can happen. Because if we leave out the real estate agents, guess what? We're just going to have good bills and dreams. But it's not going to happen because they're the investors. No, not the real estate, but the developers are the investors. And they know many developers. And so that's how we make a difference. So again, my background really influences how I look at leadership and legislation. I didn't grow up with much. My childhood, I was in a slum actually. And then when we were trying to get out of it, my dad died. And then I had to to go away in a school very far away from my family. So I was almost on my own from age 13. I can tell you from age 13, I've never asked my mother for any money. It doesn't mean I didn't have it. But because we know the pain of struggling mothers, and we don't want to give them more headache by making them feel that they don't have. And we have these communities here in our district. Look at all the food insecurity statistics here. How is that acceptable, really, in affluent towns like this? The food banks, people just can't they keep refilling food. We need to pay attention to these gaps and fix them. So anyway, I can go on and on about these experiences, but again, I'm trying to save the little voice I have. But I am so grateful for each and every one of you for believing in this campaign. We have an amazing team of volunteers. We have an amazing team of cheerleaders. And we will not stop until we get everyone's voices, everyone's life experience into the legislation that we have. And for us to do that, we want to call on you experts. We can't reinvent the wheel on some of the things that are already being good. So come join us. If you see that we could strengthen an area in healthcare, transportation, housing, climate change, anything, come talk to us. We will sit down with you. We will work with you. We will create meaningful, implementable strategies. And I'm so glad Judith is here. When we're talking about climate change, I want to assure you, I'll be the person in that room who says, how is this strategy going to affect the lifestyle of certain people? Cooking, if people cook a certain way, they are immigrants. How will this affect them, and what priorities can we give them? So that, again, yes, we are implementing bold strategies, but we're not leaving people behind as we do that. And so this is what our campaign signifies. It's a people campaign. It's as grassroots as they come, but we are powered by the people who believe in it. And we will, we are so excited, and we welcome you all. To everyone who has made this meeting happen, thank you so much. And to everyone who continues lifting us up, we will work with you, we will partner with you till the end. Thank you so much for listening.